Welcome everyone. Today we'll be focusing on grammar and syntax for the LANTITE exam. In this lesson, we'll cover key points on verb forms, subject-verb agreements, pronouns, and punctuation in ensuring you're well prepared for the exam. Starting with outlining the four main areas we'll be focusing on, including verb forms, subject-verb agreements, pronouns, and punctuation. These areas are fundamental to understanding English grammar and will be essential for passing your LANTITE exam. First up, verb forms. These express actions, and it's essential to keep their tense consistent throughout a sentence or passage. Irregular verbs are particularly tricky because they don't follow typical past tense patterns. So make sure you familiarize yourself with common ones like go, becoming, went. Here is a list of 10 irregular verbs that are important to know for the LANTITE exam. Notice how these verbs do not follow their regular ed pattern for forming the past tense, making them important to memorize and understand. Next up, we have tense consistency, which ensures that your sentence is logical and clear. For example, the incorrect sentence shifts from present tense to past tense without reason, while the correct version maintains past tense throughout. Here are 3 more examples of tense consistency, with both correct and incorrect examples. Pay attention to the words that change, marked in italics between the incorrect and correct examples. Excellent. Let's keep this lesson moving with the next topic, which are irregular verbs, which we discussed in our previous spelling lesson. Recall that irregular verbs don't follow the usual rules of adding ed for past tense. Common examples include go, becoming, went, bring, becoming, brought, and buy, becoming, bought. Next, let's take a look at subject-verb agreement, which is important for clarity in your sentences. A singular subject takes a singular verb, and a plural subject takes a plural verb. Additionally, when you have compound subjects, you generally use a plural verb. Here are 3 examples of subject-verb agreement, showing both correct and incorrect forms. Take a moment to pause the video here and study the examples. Next, moving to pronouns, where we can recall that these are words that replace nouns in a sentence, such as he, she, they, and it. Furthermore, pronoun antecedent agreements ensure that pronoun matches the noun it replaces, whereas reflective pronouns are used when the subject and the object are the same, such as using myself versus yourself. Let's look into further detail. Remember that pronouns need to agree in number and gender with the noun they replace. For example, each student should bring his or her book is correct, while their book would be incorrect because their is plural. Now, let's take a closer look at reflective pronouns, such as myself, are used when the subject and object of the sentence are the same. For example, I taught myself shows that the subject I and the object myself refer to the same person. And on to our next grammar point, punctuation, where we'll focus on 3 main areas: commas, apostrophes, and quotation marks, each of which is important for clear and correct writing. Commas are used in various situations. For instance, they separate items in a list, appear before the conjunctions, and follow introductory phrases. Using commas correctly helps clarify your sentence structure. Take a moment to review the examples under the categories. On exam day, you'll be asked to identify grammatical mistakes. Let's have a look at common comma mistakes. Have a look at the 2 sentences below and pick which has mistake and which is correct. Reading the sentences, we can recall that a common mistake is the comma splice, where 2 independent clauses are incorrectly joined by a comma. This can be fixed by adding a conjunction, using a semicolon, or splitting it into 2 sentences, which is correctly used in the second sentence with the word and. Now moving on to apostrophes, which are used for showing possession or creating contractions. For example, we have John's book shows possession while it's for it is. Your exam may also present you with quotation mark questions. So let's review this now. Remember that quotation marks are used to indicate direct speech. An example includes the following that you can see on your screen. In summary, remember to stay consistent with your verb tenses and subject-verb agreement. Check your readiness for LANTITE type questions by logging into our full test prep at lantiteprep.com and completing the syntax and grammar practice test. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.